If you ask me, I don't think we require vaccine. Corona is a contact virus just like influenza, for example. Influenza also causes pneumonitis. Influenza also affects lung. Corona is little, in terms of mortality, it's slightly higher than the influenza.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Leisurely Learning. My guest today is Dr. Subhagata Chattopadhyay. He's a medical doctor, expert in AI and ML, and also mixed martial arts trainer. Dr. Subhagata, welcome to Leisurely Baatein. How are you doing?
Thank you, Subhadip. It's my pleasure, my honor to spend some time with you in Leisurely Baatein.
Absolutely.
I really liked your title, Leisurely Baatein.
No, we all have been running so much.
These are our 7 o'clock. Just had tea, so in a fresh mood also. Yeah, I'm doing fine. How about you?
All good, absolutely fine, and being as leisurely as I can. And then as a Bangali, I could not resist saying the word adda, so it's absolutely a leisurely adda.
This is adda. Of course, this is an adda.
Right.
Actually, we are missing out adda. If you see that people have no time for adda, we only call each other when there is an interest. When there is a motive, objective, agenda, then only we call each other. But adda ekhon hoy na.
Correct. Subhagata, what I wanted to understand, my first question, which I've been very interested in asking you, is, you're a unique combination of a medical doctor, PhD from IIT in AI, as well as a mixed martial arts expert. What inspired you to pursue such diverse disciplines?
This is the most common question that I face everywhere. Yeah. I think in India, I'm the only one person who is having a postgraduate degree in gynecology and practice AI/ML. At the same time, I coach for self-defense, mixed martial arts. Well, actually, I don't find these three are different domains. They converge somewhere. I explain that. Medicine, we read the theories, we read the processes inside the body, how the tissue work from the cellular, molecular level to the system level, right? But there are a lot of mathematics, So if you look at molecular biologists, they are already, doing a lot of mathematics there. Now, if you go to the decision making, for example, like I'm a doctor, so if I get a patient, so we gather information, and then based on what we have been taught as, supervised learning, I call it a supervised learning,
right?
That our teachers, they taught us during our training in medicine. We developed little algorithm, so that we arrive into a differential diagnosis. That okay, the possibilities could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we recommend some medicines, and we also recommend some investigations, and then finally we corroborate everything, and then we come into a final diagnosis, right?
Right.
So this is typical decision making, and that is happening since 1970s. If you see the German literatures, it is mentioned that 1970s skin wounds, the doctor basically, a doctor and a scientist as well. So he started thinking of such kind of decision-making process and put it in mathematics.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, like doctors, sometimes we are human beings, so there is a 20%, 30% bias in all decisions, Now, if I can remove the bias, and put it in computer, the computer doesn't know the patient, whose relative the patient is, what is the position of the patient with the VIP, VVIP, it doesn't care. So, because these are the influencing factors in diagnosis, okay? So, if I can train computer, like a supervised learning, like for example, Vidhan Chandra Rai, the great physician. But after Vidhan Chandra Rai, have we got another physician? No. The reason is he did not develop another person with a similar type of skill. So that can be removed, If the computer is taught generation after generation giving the data, computer can learn based on learning algorithm. We also have learning algorithm here. The prefrontal cortex that made us Homo sapien, from Homo erectus to Homo sapien, because we can think. So that learning algorithm in medicine can be mapped in computer through, that I told, that machine learning kind of algorithm, data mining, knowledge retrieval. From garbage, you choose what is important, what is meaningful for that particular case.
Right.
So these two are actually quite, similar. There are a lot of resemblance in processing, in retrieving the information from the data. Data is a raw fact and figures, raw fact and figure, but information is something that we process, then we get the information. And then the information is being tested, validated, hypothesized, and it turns to a knowledge.
Correct.
So here also, if you see that the computer science, now these are all Google terms, AI, ML. During our time, when I did my PhD in IIT, it is called as expert system. Okay, even my PhD title was like that. I could able to diagnose 7 psychotic disorders where the disorders are like overlapped. Because even the psychiatrists also, they are in dilemma that whether the diagnosis is A or B.
Right.
So I actually worked on that particular portion of uncertainty in the medical data, clinical data, and could be able to diagnose with certain percentage, good percentage, I think over 95, 97% of confidence that this is the certain disease. Now, what we have done there, we modeled the uncertainty. Then after modeling uncertainty, whatever is certain, that we put to a neural network, and then we optimize the decision. So to be in a nutshell, so that was the work. And after that, I did a lot of work, so more than 100 top publications that I have, and also a book I have with my colleagues in 2012. So Therapeutic Engineering, the name of the book is Advances in Therapeutic Engineering. It was published by CRC Press in US in 2012. It's available in Amazon. You can look into that book where we talked about the biomechanics of joint, then mental health, then primary health care in terms of mathematical equations.
Wow.
So that's why these two things are not different for me. It's very, very similar. It's just the opposite face of the same coin, kind of, to me.
Right.
Now I'm bringing that, self-defense, martial arts. See, if you are a doctor, you save life, right?
Right.
You save life as a doctor. And when you work as a professor, any domain and any department, you are actually guiding people to develop life, to create life, to see the value of life. And as a martial artist or self-defense expert, I teach how to protect that life. So all these three things are basically surrounded in life. That is the center.
Very well said.
So yeah, so it's like a circle, that it is all circle around life. If you are too educated, but you can't defend a knife attack, you die. There's no point. So much education, and then suddenly you get a knife strike and lose your life. At the same time, if you are a doctor and you save life, but at the same time, when your life is at stake, you can't save yourself. Right. So saving life is something is very important, and I always recommend everybody, even in abroad also, I used to go to clubs and practice, and there also I used to teach, basic level, little intermediate level, little advanced level, especially the weapon attacks. Okay.
Right.
And yeah. And if you cannot save your life, there is no point having qualifications. There is no point having positions, because you are dead basically. Okay.
Right.
Now, fight is a science. Fight is something where the reflex is very most important. You cannot fight with the brain. You don't have that time. Its reaction time is so less, fraction of second, that you cannot think. So you have to act. So when you act, you have to practice. Especially the movements of your joint, your foot, movement of the foot. You can fight just by standing, right? You have to move. So your movement, your positioning, and the power, the power of the hit, these are very, very important. So technique, speed, and power, these three are essential for, like, all we are all animals, right? So fight or flight.
Right.
Whether you fight or you run away,
Right.
you need speed, technique, and power.
Wow.
So these are the three things that I teach, and So again, I'm saying the summary is that it is the life in the center, and everything else is around it.
All the disciplines in which you practice, like a doctor, an engineer, or a data scientist, to be a better word these days.
So I love data. I only believe in data. I believe in data. Not only I even don't believe data unless I find the data is fidel. The fidelity of the data, the goodness of the data. I mean, just today I was talking to my friend and telling that no data is available without a noise, without an error. So I don't know, how people are publishing so frequently without testing how much is there in the data.
Correct. Fantastic.
So as a data scientist, I believe that one should start from data and not AI. I get so many invitations from various, now is a mushroom of AI/ML certification.
Right.
I'm very sorry to say that. There is a Google term and there is a demand. I don't know why this demand, what people are going to do. How many intelligence system you want? And intelligence system doesn't happen in one day. It takes 10 years to 20 years time,
Right.
When we were born, we were not intelligent.
Right.
But when we walk our journey of life, based on the information, based on failures, based on the experience, exponential learning, we become little wise and intelligent. Okay. So I hope that I could able to assemble the things.
Absolutely. I think it was very, very well crafted, very well explained, and I really like that analogy where life is at the epicenter of all the knowledge and skills that you've acquired as concentric circles to protect and value the meaning of life. And I think that's a personal takeaway, which I will save for another Adda, and which will be a very, very offline, different kind of a leisurely art.
Sure.
But I'll be very interested to understand. I've been following. I was a subscriber to your YouTube channel. Some great content, and I've been, I watch it more to learn. There's lots of both on the emotional intelligence side as well as on the other aspects.
Right.
But I'm very intrigued to understand, and to learn a little bit about your early life. Did you grow up in Kolkata? What inspired you, to the philosophy of life that you hold?
See, actually, my childhood I spent in a suburb, which is like 100 kilometers approx from Kolkata, the main Kolkata city. It's Barakpur. So,
they have now all become Kolkata now these days. Kolkata is expanding.
Kolkata. So Kolkata has been stretched. So Barakpur Government School was where I used to go from first year to year 12. So there actually I met good teachers. During our time, the teachers, they don't just not was teaching. They used to talk about the philosophy of life. That what is the meaning of coming to school and getting classes and lessons from the teachers, So I should consider myself very, very privileged to have those teachers in my life. And I can't forget few teachers actually who showed us the pivots of life, not for achieving qualifications, but how to look into the life, okay? Not look at life, look into the life, how to, every day, whatever we do, we used to write that, what we have done and what new thing I have learned today. And that we used to discuss. There is a group, the schools, they are polarized students.
Right.
So they have groups. So we also have groups. And we used to discuss that, that the cycle's rear wheel is actually that pushes the cycle. It's not the front wheel. So that I discovered, And then how the rear wheel works is basically the iron balls.
Right.
Because it's iron ball, so there is no friction. So that's why when there is a friction, we have to change the iron ball. Okay. So those kind of things, that nowadays the kids, they don't understand that how a cycle works, and then we look for coding for kids. What I'm seeing, I'm just
Absolutely.
I'm just telling you, people don't know from where the paddy, the rice grains come, and they will do coding. So I don't know actually where we are going. Such a whimsical things that we grab. Very fast we grab, and then we get influenced by that, get carried away by that, and work on that. Start working on that without thinking anything. We don't want to think. So that thinking, the critical thinking, deep reading. So these kind of things. Now, what Google is telling in 21st century, what Google is telling, we were taught when we were like 3rd standard, 4th standard. The teachers used to check the textbook, and they want to see that there is a paper, there is some writing, beside a para, that what I've understood from that para.
Right.
So that is basically the deep reading. But nobody deep reads. Nowadays, nobody reads actually. Even they don't read Kindle. So that is one. The second is my father. My father is a huge part of my life, such an honest man, a very sincere man. I have seen that the duty is duty. Duty means he used to work at paper mill, and he used to go ride cycle during rainy season, winter, but never been late to join the duties. So my father is another example, and because of whom actually I am sitting in front of you is my mom. So my mom actually not only helped me to understand life, but also helped me to grow. So my mom was my friend throughout. Still, I don't. It's nothing that I don't discuss with her. Anything and everything. So this is little about my childhood. So my friend circle, are polarized, that we discuss a certain book, and then we deep read actually. I read, then I give the same book to my friend, and he reads, then we discuss so that we don't miss out any point. And then the teachers, they used to also see what we have learned by what we have conceived. By reading that book, and conceiving doesn't make sense unless you reflect, in life. So
the application of the knowledge.
Sorry?
The application of knowledge.
Application of that. Whatever you read, have you applied? And if you have applied, how did you apply it? First is why did you apply it? And then how did you apply? And what is the outcome of that? So those were the things that, that was taught by us, taught by the teachers to us. So that is the growth. And then I cracked JEE, so I went to Calcutta Medical. So there also that time 1986. So I joined medical college. I scored good marks in JE, and then high rank was there. First 150 goes to Calcutta Medical College in JE. And during our time, there was no private college, so only government colleges. 150 goes to Calcutta Medical. So there also we found like super doctors. Many doctors were not that highly qualified, but they're the real doctors, who actually taught us.
What do you mean by that?
How to?
What
Yes.
do you mean by that?
I mean by that, MBBS doctor, no postgraduate qualifications, but working in that emergency for say 15 years, 16 years. Medicine is more of an experience than degree.
Right.
Okay, you should have a minimum level of understanding. Then you are being taught the anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, then pharmacology, pathology, microbiology, okay, forensic, because the law is also some medical legal things that we should learn, and the community medicine. Then you go to medicine, surgery, gynecology, ophthalmology, ENT, and pediatrics. A person with average level of intelligence, with little hunger for knowledge, and a good teacher means not bookish teacher, the clinical teacher, who used to tell you in the evening when you go to the hospital that you auscultate and try to figure out the third out sound, S3. Okay, so they are not that highly qualified. They were not, MDs and MRCPs and these and that. But they were good doctors who used to be beside the patients and taught us. Actually, we were taught mostly by our seniors. I mean, the house surgeons, the postgraduate trainees, than the visitings.
Right.
So, and also there is a peer feeling, right?
Right.
Like, but some Dada is there, and then Dada will take a class, and then like 20 people will be selected there. From there, Dada will show us how to auscultate heart, how to get third heart sound, how to diagnose an AMI, and atypical myocardial infarction ECG that particular day that the patient developed. Because during our time there was no tropi, no such test. So all the diagnosis is a clinical diagnosis. Even the ultrasound, CT scan you forget. Ultrasound also, you get the report of ultrasound after 2 weeks. Echocardiography. So because there is only one machine, so many government hospitals, the patient load is very, very high. So we used to depend on our fingers, eyes, and ears.
Right. What you are telling me, Subhagata, is very, very, it resonates very well to me, because from my mother's side, everybody is a doctor. My dadu, my two mama, maternal uncles. And I saw my dadu, he was practicing in a small town in Bihar, North Bihar, called Purnia. And I was very small. So every summer vacation, winter vacation, we used to go to Mamar Badi. And they were like, patients in bullock carts and, horses and queues and all. But, I only saw stethoscopes, and he used to have a separate room where he prepared the various mixtures. And I was given the task of cutting the label, when folding the paper and then cutting the four sides and then pasting it. But I never, I always saw him with stethoscopes and the pulse, and that's it. And he used to clear benches and benches of, patient. But today's day and age, it's all about 20 tests. So it is it's a bot mechanized kind of a, medical practitioner. But what you were talking to me was resonating so much, because I could see it as, I was very young. I remember it, he passed away when I was 6 years old.
Yeah, Subhadip, I just want to add one line to you. I mean, what you told is the scenario, 20, 30 years ago. Now, why there are so many tests, and why doctors recommend so many tests, for two reasons. With due respect to my own profession, let me tell you, the clinical part is so badly missing that most of the people, pupil, the students, the day they join a medical college, they start reading MCQ books to crack MD entrance. The day MD and MS entrance become an MCQ, multiple choice question based answer, we lost the clinics. Earlier days, a person used to work as a house surgeon, as a house physician for 5 years, 6 years, and then get a recommendation that, okay, now you are ready, go for MD or MS. That is not there. So it's an MCQ. How many drops of a micro, saline, the micro drops per minute is necessary for this particular thing? But people just mug it.
Right.
Now that mugging and more crave for higher degrees rather than understanding the human physiology, human body, the system, the human psyche. The most important thing is the human psyche. How many of us we try to find out the human psyche? Very rarely.
Right. So that brings me to my next set of questions to you is, one is, before I get into the, I've got a couple of questions more on the emotional, psychological side of things, both for, children and senior citizens. But before that, I was very interested to get your views in, what we are seeing every day and probably most of us are following is the news on vaccine.
Yeah.
As a common man, I have no, clue about how do I choose between a vaccine. What we hear, what we read is it takes years and years, to optimize and get a vaccine, successful. What I could read about polio. From a COVID perspective, both for me and my viewers, it'd be good if you can explain in layman's term. With so many vaccines, it's become more of a marketing buzz. And how do we rely on a vaccine? What's your view on vaccine?
Okay, so it's a very pertinent question that you have asked. Whatever information that we all have, whatever information you have, I also have the same information because I never walked inside laboratory, so I don't know what tests have been gone down there in laboratory. For any vaccine, the phase 3 trial, that is the human trial, is the most important. Now, COVID vaccine, I see, is an outcome of two things. One is our impatience, and second is the human greed to make money, to retain power, to influence people, to purchase, to capture the psyche of the population. So these greed and the impatience. If you ask me, I don't think we require vaccine. Corona is a contact virus just like influenza, for example. Influenza also causes pneumonitis. Influenza also affects lung. Corona is little, in terms of mortality, it's slightly higher than the influenza. But influenza also produces a little herd immunity. Herd immunity means in the community, few people suffer and then it stops. Okay. And happens sporadically. It's not pandemic. Now, Corona, what happened? Corona put us inside the house. And we don't want to be in the house, we want to just go out, mingle with people, and we want to do what we want to do. Okay? Because Corona is a contact virus and there is a clear guidelines from the WHO that you have to maintain social distancing. We have to wear the face mask. We have to do test for COVID, and contact tracing. These four things are the most important. We don't want to do that. We are thinking that once we get a vaccine shot, I'm done. I can do whatever I want, what I was doing, So it's a new normal or whatever. There are a lot of jargons, a lot of terms, new terms have come. I don't think it's a new normal. It's something that we should have practiced since the origin of the civilization. To maintain social distancing, to have hygiene, the concept of hygiene, and wearing face mask. I remember in a meeting or when somebody talks, somebody's mouth stink here. I mean, just stink. If you put a face mask, then that, and when you talk, many people just spit unknowingly. There's a spit. You can prevent that. Do you know how many people are suffering from MDR, multi-drug resistant tuberculosis? We don't know. A person who is sitting beside you in a bus or a train earlier days, she was coughing, right? So maybe he or she is suffering from MDR tuberculosis. But Corona is a hype. Corona has become a hype for the whole world, actually. I don't know why there is a hype. Most probably, to pour more money on or to gain more revenue through sanitizers and masks and this and that. But these are all my personal, views. I may be wrong, but I'm not absolutely wrong. I'm very sure about that. N95 mask was sold in with a price. One mask was sold like 400, 500 rupees in India. And many people made a lot of money by, selling those masks, many companies. So that is one side, the impatience, that we don't want to be disciplined. We don't care that whatever we want, we should do. We should be able to do that. Now I am coming to the greed. Now the business houses are there, so people are thinking of ROI, the bigger ROI. The day the vaccine announcement happened, have you seen that the Sensex has gone up?
Right.
Spiked up. So that speaks by itself that there is a greed. That if I invest 100 rupees, I get few thousands in return. But we don't care about that what is the outcome. There is a term called vaccine failure. Have we tested? No. Some companies, they're claiming that X% of efficacy. That means 1 minus X% is not effective. But the company or the manufacturer do not divulge that why or at what situations, what scenario these are not effective or it is not working, right? So summarily, I see that like other vaccines, we should be patient. There should be randomized, blind controlled trial, and the research, the data should not be manipulated for making money. Data should be the real data, authorized data. The authorizing agency should be, very vigilant on the data, and then only it should come to the market. And until that, we should maintain social distancing, wear face mask, scrub our hand, and enjoy life. Everything is working now. Have you seen that everything is working now except school?
Correct.
I don't understand. I don't find any logic. Then why the schools are closed? Sorry. When everything else is working, even the trains, the buses. Now I'm in Kolkata. You see any bus, any train, it's like jam-packed. You go to Mumbai, even in Delhi Metro, you see that.
Yeah.
I think you're seeing that, watching that. But only school is not allowed. Today I got the news that the parliament will not work during this COVID pandemic. But logic, I don't know. And as a logical person with little common sense, my understanding, it's not getting any clue that why these are only closed while everything is open. Malls are open, shops are open, restaurants are open, train, bus, all open, except schools. And yeah.
Right. I mean, just on the note of schools, one of the things I wanted to ask both as a parent and on behalf of other parents is, it's very difficult, for kids, young kids, to be restrained, and they are mostly at home. They are not going out to play, and it's creating a lot of emotional imbalance or emotional issues. What's your advice to parents? How do they manage this emotional crisis? Because it's so difficult. I mean, I could not imagine. My son is 8 years old. I could not imagine at that age being more or less locked down, confined to house, not being able to go out and run around. So, and I'm seeing a little bit of mood swings, little bit of he's getting irritated very easily. What's your advice? How do parents handle this?
See, there are three things into it. Anybody's psyche needs three basic support. One support is a peer. Okay. Now, I'm sure that because of the mobile, the electronic gadgets, the groups, WhatsApp, etc., they have the peer group, and that support is coming. Okay. Number two is guided support. Guided support means the parents or whoever is the caregiver, their support. And number three is the own support. That you have to support yourself. You should learn how to support yourself, how to live your life. Emotion depends on these three support. Now I'm coming to the first support. The first support is a peer support. Now, what I am hearing from various sources is that cyberbullying is something that has cropped up during this lockdown period. Cyberbullying, you understand that, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So, with electronic gadgets, you are bullying. In our days, bullying was there. Bullying is always there. The day the school started, when students went there, they started bullying each other. So, bullying is a very natural phenomenon. But cyberbullying is something that is basically, eroding the confidence of the person who has been bullied. So, first thing is that the peer support. Who are the peers? That is the responsibility of the parents, so that they can guide their kids that avoid this particular thing, avoid these comments. Don't be in front of the mobile phone or laptop for so many times. You can do some workout, you can practice some dancing, for example. I mean, during lockdown, not now, during lockdown. But now the lockdown phase is over. Students can go and play. What is the harm? Football match is going on. Okay. So they can play. If they want to keep social distancing, play tennis, play table tennis, play badminton. Why sitting at home? Because that is very harmful for the health, and there it requires a guided support. That means parental support. Parents should be very, very vigilant of three symptoms. Number one, frequent mood swing. Number three, loss of appetite. And number four is deprivation of sleep. If these three things happen in a child, that means something is going to be very serious. Now the problem is, even the parents, they also work from home, and as a corporate guy, work from home means only work. Forget about home. Work minus home is for work from home, right?
Right.
14 hours, 15 hours, 16 hours, people are working. Isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so And there is a good term that has been coined by the managers, agile, to be agile. But nobody talks about being agile, you will become fragile.
Very well said. Agile being fragile. Very well said.
Because you will lose the spine, then you will develop little chest pain. Because you are not lifting yourself out of the chair, right? You have eye problems, you have headache, so whatever. The third thing is that the child himself or herself should understand, especially for those who are like above 10, going to be teens. They should also understand what should work for them and what should not work for them, while making the friendship. Now the malls are open, restaurants are open, people are going there. Almost 50% life has been recovered, like people are going out, they are going for playing and all. But the stickiness to the electronic media has not gone. That is the problem. In the third domain, that is where you want to choose your life, how your life should go, Some of my friends, I have seen that the teenager boy and the girl and their door is locked from inside, and what they are doing inside, nobody knows that, Sometimes they are coming out, going to a washroom or asking for food. With the food, they are again going inside. It's like a rat hole, kind of. Yeah, I've seen that.
I've seen that as well.
Noticed. So, I don't know. I mean, so what I can see is that, our brain is not tuned with the digital medium. Our brain is still tuned with the book. And the problem in the book is that the letters, they do not change color. The page doesn't flicker. There is no, RGBs that is coming out of the book. So it is very boring for the brain now. At the same time, the brain has not adapted to, online stuff, the flickering of or changes in the screen color and blah, blah. So I think the brain is in a very confusing state, that which one to take and which one to discard.
Right.
It's a process of evolution, I guess. So we have to give little time to it, which way it's going. I'm very sure that evolution is evolution. So even a tumor inside your body, when it develops, it's an evolution. So it starts developing, and then you don't know that whether it will turn to be a cancerous mass or a benign mass, right? So here also I am seeing the society, especially the kids. Their evolution, we don't know unless we wait for another 20 years to see that whether they have developed a cancerous psyche or a benign normal psyche.
Right.
So summarily there are three things. One is the choice of peers. Number two, guided parenthood. Guided parenting is very, very important, and parents should be more vigilant now, because in the electronic media there are so many things. It's like flooded with many things. Whatever you want, just you type, you get it. And there is no restriction, there is no filter on that. And number three is what exactly that kid wants to track his or her life. Because at the end of the day, he or she should understand it's my life. If I suffer, yes, I suffer. It's nobody else, not the society. No government will suffer, I suffer.
Right.
So this is my 2-cent contribution to your question.
Thank you so much. I think it is going to help not only me, but many like me to address this very important question. I know we are hard pressed with time. I just have a small, quick question for you. Is we are facing similar kind of situation even for senior citizens. And my father, he lives in Kolkata, and obviously that generation and our generation as well grew up in the 80s. It's a very social environment. We've not for us social was about sitting on the footsteps and having a chat, and not a social media. And a lot of senior citizens are finding it extremely difficult in the current context. So much of restrictions. How do they manage? From their build their mental muscles, handle their emotions. So yeah, I wanted to ask that question on behalf of many senior citizens.
See, in senior citizens, they already passed a certain, part of their life. So I consider them very wise, that they have lived their life and they understand the pros and cons, the, black and white side of the life. Now, these have suddenly come and made it gray. Now, how to filter out the black and white from the gray that is the challenge they are facing. Okay. Most of the senior citizens have a bad habit. What is the bad habit? Bad habit is that they are spending time in front of television and listening to all sort of news, especially during the corona time when the mortality rate was higher still it is higher to the senior citizen side. I used to get calls from my relatives that hey, it's like 70 years and a female is like people are saying that they are more vulnerable. I'm 73. What should happen to me? So I used to say that nothing is going to happen to you. Just stop watching those news because it's got nothing to do with you. Senior citizens having comorbid conditions, which is 80% cases, which is true. The problem here is they have never checked that whether they are suffering from diabetes, whether they are suffering from hypertension or any problem with the cholesterol, the lipid profile or the cardiac condition, and nobody checked, the thyroid problem, nobody checked. So these comorbid conditions, if it is hidden and you are exposed to this particular virus, you are vulnerable. But if you are healthy, if you have no comorbid conditions, it's been tested that you are healthy, nothing is going to happen to you. Because I tell one very important thing here. Any viral infection depends on two things. One is the viral load, that how much viral load you conceived. And second is the contact time. The contact time of the person who is infected and you, or somebody who was like normal, non-infected. So that contact time is very important. And third parameter is certainly the immunity. Okay, you are we call it like inert immunity, like what the immunity you are born with, like your immune status.
Right.
And there is no immunomodulator. Please take a note that take this, it increases immunity. No. Immunity can be increased only in two ways. One is your primary immunity, that the way you are being born. And second is by secondary, that is a vaccine. When you take vaccine, it stimulates the B lymphocyte and, you get the antibodies against that particular disease. But no, haldi usse kuch nahi hota hai. Nothing, and there is no research also. So, and the research also now it's very difficult to believe also that what data they are putting, right?
Right.
Recent that scandal, that Lancet scandal, for example.
Right.
After that, Lancet is number one.
Right.
And after that Lancet issue, I stopped reading journals. Because I don't know what sort of data and based on what sort of data, what sort of inferences are being made.
Correct.
So very, very chaotic situation. And again, I'm coming back to my first thing. This chaotic situation has been created as a byproduct of our impatience and the greed. If we are patient, one research paper takes at least 1.5 years to 2 years time. Reviewing, reviewer's comment, you have to address those comments, you have to do some more tests, because because I publish papers. So I know that average time is 1.5 years if you are lucky. And many papers, they are published even after 4-5 years. So many reviewers, right?
Right.
But here, many papers are published just like this. And there are journals where you pay money and they publish. So, yeah, so this is something very, very dangerous. Now, coming back to the senior citizens, many are taking those immunomodulators, and they think that their immunity is being boosted. I think that is a myth, and that is not the fact. So first, come out of the negative things. Second, don't take those immunomodulators. Rather, you do some exercise, some stretching exercise. Okay, just to keep your system, the bone, muscle, and the joints fit. Okay, take medicines. If you have comorbid conditions, take medicines. Keep stock of the medicines, so that you need not go out frequently to bring your medicines. Be in touch with your doctor online. Now the online consultation, the chronic cases, for example. I will not recommend online consultation for emergency cases. And please take it also from me that online consultation is not the solution of the health problem. I give one simple example. Somebody developed a little burning sensation here, right? And the doctor got a call at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Then he recommended that, okay, take some antacid, blah, blah, blah. At 8 o'clock evening, the doctor got another call that now it is increasing. It's going this side, that side. Then he told, okay, you take this particular tablet. So another antacid tablet, for example. 2 a.m. next day, the patient died because it was myocardial infarction. So, online healthcare is not the solution. It is a very, very open loop. And for emergency, even this, this is very simple, right? Burning sensation here. Who knows that the patient is showing the symptom of heart attack? But it happened. Healthcare has to be completed loop. Online, then you have to go to hospital. So you can't ignore the existence of physical setup. For example, childbirth. Can it happen online?
Yeah.
It cannot, right? Today, my friend sent me a Christmas dinner, a fantastic picture, that lot of stuff. And everybody is in virtual. Can you eat that? Can you taste?
No, of course not. No.
You only watch. So physical examination, which is very important, that is absolutely missing in online. There is no physical examination. There is no ECG. For any chest discomfort or discomfort in the abdomen, first thing we should do is to evaluate the cardiac status. That was not done. So online healthcare is not the solution at all. It is just for, well, doctor, my blood report is this, but for the blood report also you have to give your blood, right? It has to go to the laboratory. It cannot be tested, measured online.
Right.
So online is another hype, I must say, that there are a lot of webinars are happening, these, that. I think webinars have happened in India more than the number of corona cases. Yeah. The number of webinars are more than corona cases, and everybody is an expert there. So, yeah. So I get invitations, but I don't join because it's a complete wastage of my time. So I just avoid that. So this is another thing that I have to mention here because there is an opportunity. So I find that I should tell the audience that the most important thing is that exactly what you want from this pandemic situation, how to live your life, and you have to guide your life. At the end of the day, whatever we do, everything is surrounding a dot. That is the center of the circle, which is life. Okay, so same is applied to the senior citizen. Regular medication, exercise, avoid negative news, and those kids, like you were staying in Delhi, and your parents are in Kolkata. Like I was in Bangalore when lockdown etc. started happening, and my mother is she is still in Kolkata. I used to have at least 1 hour chat on the WhatsApp video call, so that my mom can see me. My mom can see me that yes, my son is fine, he is doing good. Just a call doesn't make sense. That visualization is also very, very important. So WhatsApp has, I think, done a tremendous good job during this lockdown period, where people could interact with each other, see each other online.
Correct.
Not only talking but also seeing. Seeing is believing.
Right.
We believe by seeing, right? Not by hearing. So that I also see that, oh, she's doing well, like she's looking good. She has put cream and something like okay, show me the medicine. Have you taken the medicine? Which medicine have you taken? What about the blue pill? Oh yes, I've seen a blue pill. Okay, fine. So something like that. It's like more gelling. So like the people like you and others that who have kids at the same time, the senior citizen parents, you are actually the knee joint. In one side you are having hip joint, and one side you are having an ankle joint. Without a knee joint, the hip joint has got no meaning. Without the knee joint, the ankle joint has got no sense. So you are the pivot. That's why knee joint is called as the pivotal joint for the lower leg.
Right.
So yeah, so that pivotal thing, again, one should understand that what is my role now? Is it only working for my company and give them more profit and earn more money? Or this is the time I should take care of everybody, my next generation. At the same time, I should not forget my earlier generation.
Correct.
And balance it. That is human being. That actually we need now. The society doesn't need AI, ML. The society doesn't need smart gadgets anymore. Society doesn't need smart people. Smart, literally smart. Society needs good people, having loyalty and integrity, who has the clarity of life, he knows that what exactly he or she should do in the life, and not following others. I'm very happy to see that you left the job and started off your own, and then you are bringing a lot of knowledge, lot of information to the wider population, lakhs, crores. That should be the life. And it's not that you go to the office and you position and then earning money, and at the end of the day you die with lot of money piled up in the bank.
No, very well said. I think this is happiness. I'm a great fan of happiness. I read a lot about happiness and positive psychology. Seligman,
right,
and Paul Doolan. And I think whatever was taught to us through our ancient history and the Vedas is coming back when you read those books, but printed overseas, is a very different branding of simplicity. So hearing what you were saying as a medical professional, it is all about being happy at the core, and the essence. Those are probably the nutrients that life needs more to germinate, to cross-pollinate. And it is so it was so fresh to hear that perspective, from you with such a diverse background. And I'm sure my audience would be enjoying and would play this episode and put it on a loop We've almost come to the end of the show. Subhagata, thank you so much. It's been such a wonderful, chat, such a wonderful, adda. And I look forward to meeting you on the other side. Whenever I'm, wherever I'm in Kolkata or in Bangalore,
Sure.
to meet you in person and continue on this leisurely Baatein.
Yeah, absolutely. Subhadip, it's a great venture, by you that, going to the people in masse. I mean, lakhs of crores of people, you're reaching. So that is fantastic. And I really appreciate that. And I adore that. And I wish you all the best from the core of my heart. So it's a great job that you're doing. So please keep it up. And if you need any help from my side, I'm there to help you. I'm there to assist you as my very good friend. Okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.